I think we've seen headlines recently about how Raimundo has said that US companies increasingly see China as uninvestable. And that's something which Beijing is very sensitive to. We saw foreign direct investment over the second quarter fall by around 87% in growth terms. It reached its lowest level on record in value terms over that same period. And so there's this commonality there in terms of improving the operating environment, getting kind of trade relations back on track in the sense of, finding these win-win opportunities. But at the same time, the massive caveat here is that diplomatic relations between the two countries are at a very strained place right now. Questions around national security, human rights, technological supremacy, these are all darkening the conversation. And so even if there are opportunities for common ground, they're going to be kind of, in the shadows of everything else that is looming larger over the relationship.
What do American companies need to see to feel more confident putting money to work in China?
I think there's a lot they need to see, to be honest, but fundamentally, there needs to be a greater degree of policy clarity, policy transparency. We've just, seen China over the past couple of years with this, on-off economy with the lockdowns. We've now seen, questions around investigations into certain due diligence firms. We have headwinds building in terms of the economic growth picture. A lot of this ties back to this fundamental issue of uncertainty. And really, how can you do business in an environment when you can't, plan for the next step? So I think, businesses are willing to, stay in China, and if the opportunities are right, expand their presence. I mean, you just spoke to the ABB CEO there about the opportunities long term. But in order to do that, they need to feel confident about what the next steps might be. And right now, that confidence just isn't there.
How confident are you that Xi Jinping cares about foreign investment in China? How big of a deal is it that we've seen massive outflows in the country? When you look at the stock market, clearly it's something that is on Chinese authorities' minds because they put forward this halving of the levy on trading over the weekend. So they are trying to lure investment back in. But how does it rank in terms of everything else that's on Xi's plate right now?
Well, it's definitely on the agenda. I mean, Xi Jinping has been very sensitive to the perceptions that, say, China is uninvestable, or the fact that the stock market has, seen gyrations under his administration. But at the same time, I would hesitate to say that, attracting foreign investment is really at the top of his priority list. There's a lot more there in terms of competition with the U.S. and the West more broadly. In China's terms, kind of enhancing national security and extending the party's control over the country. I would say his priorities are very much more in the political sphere. The economy and foreign investment, they're there, but perhaps they're more the remit of the people around him rather than the president himself. And as a result, we can see why some of that policy uncertainty is there and why a lot of that pessimism on the market is really still lingering even after China's reopening.